Hi guys, welcome to today's video and we will be discussing about Colreg's Rules 11 and 12. So our Rules 11 and 12 is the first or are the first few topics that we will be having for the midterms. No? So the midterms will be composed of Rules 11 to 22. And as previously in our prelim, we have your Rules 1 to 10. But now we will be having Rules 11 to 22. But for this video, we will be only discussing about Rules 11 to 12. So Rule 11 is about application and Rule 12 is about sailing vessels. And these are actually just part of the our part B, no? So the part A is about the general application, sorry. It talks about all the rules that applies to all the other rules and which should be followed generally in accordance with, of course, our Colregs, or in how we will be going to follow the Colreg. So all the general rules nakastate doon sa ating part A. On our part B, which is about steering and sailing rules, it is actually three sections: section 1, section 2, and section 3. So these are steering and sailing rules na kumbaga, this will discuss to you on what you will do when in case, for example, there are two ships involved, what are your maneuvers, what are the things that you need to do. So yun yung part B natin. Part B is further divided into three, as I said, and the first one is about the conduct of vessel in any condition of visibility. We have actually discussed these part, and it is about all the rules that applies to any condition of visibility, may it be restricted visibility or not restricted visibility. The section 2 deals with the conduct of vessels in sight of one another. We will discuss that one later on. And of course, the conduct of vessels in restricted visibility for the section 3. The part C, later on, we will be discussing about the lights and shapes. And the lights, these are the lights that the ship displays is actually what is visible at night. And the shape is what is visible at, of course, during the daytime. So this will identify the status of your ship, no, as well as the aspect. And later on, we will discuss that one. Sound and light signals as well will be discussed in part D and the part E for the exemptions. So please remember all these parts and of course the rule titles as well. For the midterm, we will be having your Rule 11, Rule 12 as the first few topics. So Rule 11 talks about your application, and take note that the Rule 11 is the first rule in our Part B, Section 2. Wherein, kung babalikan natin, the title of our Part B, Section 2 is about steering and sailing rules. Section 2, conduct of vessels in sight of one another. Okay, so what is stated in the Rule 11's application? It's just very simple. Rules in this section apply to vessels in sight of one another. To simplify, no, in sight of one another. Doon yung pinaka-core ng rule na to, wherein the section 2 of the Colreg will apply to vessels wherein nakikita nila yung isa't isa. We will define, no? When we say rules, when we say in sight of one another, you need, of course, good visibility, no? Wherein you will be able to see another ship, and of course, yung this side, on the left side, makikita natin that this is restricted visibility. And with this kind of visibility, hindi natin makikita ang other ships. And this one is a clear visibility wherein we will be able to see, no? And even though it will be a little bit obstructed yung visibility natin, as long as you can see the vessel, still it is under your Rule 11 or your Section 2. No, the section 2 of our Colregs, or part B, section 2 of our Colregs. Now, we will be going back to the definition, no, in accordance with the Rule 3. Remember that our Rule 3 is, what is the title of our Rule 3? Rule 3 is about general definitions. when we say Rule 3, General Definitions, and Paragraph K, it states that when we say in sight of one another, it means that you need to observe visually one another, no? So it says here that shall be deemed in sight of one another, vessels shall be deemed to be in sight of one another only when one can observe visually from the other. This means that nakikita mo siya with your naked eye. You're not using any equipments, radar equipments or whatsoever, but you're using only your naked eye or your binoculars. No? So if you can observe that ship visually, may it be from the bridge, or may it be kung saan ka man, basta na-observe mo siya visually, then pasok. No? It's in sight of one another kayo. And for example, this one. So kung makikita nyo sa picture na to, it's a bit clear visibility, no? Not that really clear kasi on the farther end medyo hindi na siya nakikita kasi merong slight fog or I don't know mist. And then as you can see, merong isang vessel, and if you will be using the binocular, assuming na ganyan, no? Kinuha ko lang yan sa Google, so thank you Google for for that image. So if you will be using your binocular, nakita natin na there is a sailing vessel. So this applies section B, part B, section 2 applies if you are in sight of one another. The steering and the sailing rules, the maneuvers that you will be doing in accordance with the part B, section 2 is dapat in sight of one another kayo. I think we're clear with that, with the rule 11. Are we clear? Okay. This one is a restricted visibility. When we say restricted visibility, to review your visibility or the way you see from the bridge is restricted or obstructed. Hindi mo siya nakikita. Yung limit ng eyesight mo is only just nearby. No, you cannot see far. And let's proceed with our rule 12. The title of our Rule 12 is about sailing vessels. So, yung tinuro sa akin when I was in college, that to easily remember the Rule 12, it looks like a sailing vessel daw. So, I've searched for a sailing vessel, as you can see, and it actually looks like really a 12. No? So, this one resembles the 2 and this one resembles the 1. No? And to easily remember, when we say Rule 2, anong title? And yes, it's sailing vessel. This is an example of a sailing vessel. But if we will be going back again to the Rule 3 general definitions, it is stated there that a sailing vessel is a vessel that uses its sail to, of course, navigate. And at the same time, if it uses its motor daw or its propulsion system, remember that it will be considered as a PDV or a power-driven vessel, no? And at the same time, you need to hoist a cone. Merong shape na kailangang i-hoist, and that's a cone. And of course, when it comes to the overtaking vessel, must keep clear. This also applies when a sailing vessel is overtaking a power boat. So this means na if you are an overtaking vessel, you must keep clear of the overtaken na vessel. And at the same time, these rules also applies to a sailing vessel. So if a sailing vessel overtakes another sailing vessel, the rule applies na dapat you need to take care na hindi mo hinahamper yung ino-overtaken mong vessel. We will discuss that one on the Rule 13. Power-driven vessel must avoid or give way to all sailing vessels. This will be discussed actually, I think, on Rule 19. No? Forgive me if I'm wrong. No? Ship, tugboats, and tows, commercial ferries, and fishing vessels have right of way over sailing vessels. So that means if a sailing vessel is in risk of collision or there is a tugboat or tows in the vicinity, the sailing vessel should give way to those vessels, as I said. Now, what is said in the Rule 12 natin? The Rule 12 says, when two sailing vessels are approaching one another so as to involve risk of collision. Magkakaroon daw ng risk of collision. Remember, what's the risk of collision na rule number? Rule number what? It's rule number 7, risk of collision. And when we say risk of collision, there is a possibility na magbabangga yung dalawang barko. And at the same time, you can identify if that ship is in risk of collision if the bearing of that certain vessel does not change. Okay, going back here, when two sailing vessels are approaching one another so as to involve risk of collision, one of them shall keep out the way of the other. So, ibig sabihin, may isang dapat umiwas. Baka ikaw yun. Oh, let's check. When each has the wind on the different side, the vessel which has the wind on the port side, take note, port side, shall keep way of the other. This means daw, if dalawang sailing vessel, they have the wind on the different side, magkaibang side. For example, ang isang sailing vessel has a wind on port side, the other has on the starboard side. The one daw that has the wind on the port side shall keep clear of the other. So, look at this example. For example, we have the wind here. Merong wind dito. And then this is the two sailing vessels that we have, no? Ang sabi daw, if there is a sailing vessel that has the wind on the port side. So take note, if this ship is heading there, this is the starboard side and this is the port side. This one, pag papunta dito yung sailing vessel, makita natin dito, this side is the starboard side and this side is the port side of that ship, of course. Now, this one has the wind on the port side. So, this sailing vessel will or needs to keep out the way of this other sailing vessel. Okay. Sige. For example, ito, ang ating illustration natin. This sailing vessel papunta dito and this sailing vessel papunta dito. As you can see, let's assume that there is a risk of collision. Now, what shall we do? This steering and sailing rules must apply natin. No, ito ang mag-a-apply natin. And according sa sinabi natin kanina, when they have different side, no, ng wind. As you can see, the other has on the starboard side and the other has on the port side. Now, it says on the rule that if you have the wind on the port side, you are the one who will keep clear. So, on this illustration, the ones who will keep clear is ito. Kasi, meron siyang wind sa port side niya and this one is on the starboard side. So this one, ang tawag natin sa kanya is the giveaway vessel and this one is the stand-on vessel. Later on, we will discuss that one. Now, the second paragraph no, on the ating Rule 12 sailing vessel. When both have the wind on the same side, take note, same side. Kanina, different side. Now, on the same side, the vessel which is to the windward shall keep out of the way of the vessel which is to the leeward. Now, here's our illustration. The wind is going here, and then you have your, for example, magkaibang illustration itong white, magkaibang illustration itong red, no? So, on this illustration, the windward boat is this one, and the leeward boat is this one. So, the one that gives way, or siya yung magkikeep clear of the other, is the windward boat. And this one, sa case na to, meron tayong dalawang red vessels. No? So, the one which is on the leeward is this one, and this one is on the windward. No? So, this one should keep clear of the other, and this one is the stand-on vessel. Okay? So, ano ba ang pag sinabi nating windward and leeward, pag sinabi nating windward, on this case, the one that is on the side near to the wind. And then the opposite, this one, the opposite side is the leeward. No? And if you have that ship on that leeward side, that ship will be the stand-on vessel. No? And take note that this one is the windward. Pwede rin sabihin natin na the one who will receive the wind first. No? Mas malapit siya sa wind. No? So if the wind is going to this direction, and then you have your first ship here, this one is the windward and this one is the leeward. Take note, according to the rule, dapat yung mag-keep out of the way of the other is this windward sailing vessel. So, keep out siya. And this one continues on her course. So this one is the stand-on vessel and this one is the giveaway vessel. Now, we have two examples. Can you differentiate now what is a stand-on vessel and a giveaway vessel? So, ano ang pinagkaiba? Ano ang stand-on vessel? Ang stand-on vessel is the one who keeps her course. Steady lang siya. While the giveaway vessel, that ship naman alters course so that the other will be safe. Or the giveaway vessel keeps out of the way of the other vessel. Look at this, another example. Now, the ship is going, of course, to the north, for example, and this one is to the northeast, for example. Then the wind is coming from the west, no? So, ang first na nagre-receive ng wind natin is this one. So, this one will be considered as the windward, while this one is the leeward vessel. If, for example lang ha, of course, not in this illustration, if the wind is coming from here, from the east side, no? This one receives the wind first. So this one becomes the windward and this one becomes the leeward if the wind is coming from here. But on this example, the wind is coming from here. The one receives the wind first, which is the windward. This vessel will be called the windward and this one is the leeward vessel. Okay? Okay na tayo dyan. Of course, the same goes na iiwas si windward. So, parang ano lang yan, parang sa inyong dalawa. Ikaw na lang yung magiging windward. No? Hey. Rule 12 natin also says that if a vessel with the wind on the port side sees a vessel to windward and cannot determine with certainty whether the other vessel has the wind on the port side or on the starboard side, she should keep clear of the other, keep out of the way of the other. Now take note, a vessel with the wind on the port side. Now, it's like you're going back to the rule kanina natin na isa, wherein if your ship on a different side, then you need to alter course. No, if you have the wind on the port side. Now, this rule applies, no, on the third paragraph natin, wherein if you are a vessel with the wind on the port side, you just assume, no, you just assume that you need to keep out. So it means that if you have the wind on the port side, you have to keep out. Let's say, for example, this one, she has the wind on the port side, then this one keeps out the way of the other, even though hindi siya sure kung saan papunta or saan ang wind nitong vessel na to. Okay? Say, for example, also this one, no? Ito yung nasa windward side, so it should keep clear of the other. This one actually talks about kung ano yung windward and leeward. I've been explaining this one kanina pa, that the windward is the side that receives the wind first, or this one nears. O, ito sabi dito, side shall be deemed to be the side opposite to that on which the mainsail is carried, or in the case of square rig vessel, the side opposite to that on which the largest fore and aft sail is carried. When you say carried, dinadala. So, di ba, gumaganon. Kapag tumama yung wind, syempre, yung parang trapal or parang yung sail niya, nagbe-bend siyang ganon. So, kinikerry. Kinikerry siya. No? So, ang sabi daw, side opposite to that on which the mainsail is carried. No? So, this one is the windward side. Okay, parang ganito din ang illustration natin. Merong upwind at merong downwind. No? Hypothetical direction of the wind. No? Sa upwind natin, the windward from the reference point. You have the reference point here, that is the red one. And then the upwind is the one that nandito sa windward side, and then the downwind is on the leeward side. Okay? Okay na tayo? Yes. So to recap, Rule 11, Rule 12. Rule 11, application. Rule 12, what is? What? Sailing vessels, no? And you have to take note that if you have the wind on the port side as a sailing vessel, you have to keep clear of the other. And if you have the wind on the same side and you are on the windward side, you have to keep clear of the other. So for any concerns, you may email me for clarifications. My phone number is always open. You can private message me on the M Rooms, and my FB Messenger as well is open for your questions. I've been waiting for your questions, and don't forget to comment on the section, comment on this YouTube channel as well para ma-identify ko kung sino ba yung nanonood at kung meron bang nanonood. No? And at the same time, if you have questions, please, as I said, do not hesitate to ask questions. I will be very willing to answer your questions. Okay? So, if you're experiencing any difficulty with our class, please, as I said, do not hesitate to message me. And I'll see you around on the next video of the next rule natin for the Colregs. Sige, see you. Bye-bye.